President Barack Obama, call the scientists. Open up Area 51 to the scientists of the world, because you, America, are the leader that Allah God has raised and made you powerful that he might make himself known through you. And if America calls the scientists of the earth to such place, they will respond. What would be the reason for the call? To show them a sign of the presence of God, to right the wrongs of the earth, and to heal it. If President Obama even attempts to do this, the shadow government will be in trouble, because they too will be forced to have to bow to this. The scientists all over the earth will know, especially through the clarity of our voice and what they see, that God is present, and that we whom they have destroyed would not have this knowledge if it did not come from the highest of sources. We believe our words that we have shared on the presence of the wheel could help the president and America to avert Allah's warning of chastisement and destruction if America does not bow down. I have been given authority to teach this, and you who have experienced the wheels are my witnesses. So come on out from your hiding places and stand up for the good of America.
Welcome to the Gilchrist Experience. As you see, this is Farrakhan speaking about extraterrestrials in Area 51. It's entertaining subject matter. E.T. is alive and well. What say ye, Brother Leroy?
First of all, thank you very much for your invitation to be a part of the Gilchrist Experience, and we look forward to our good brother coming back, Graham, from his vacation. And you mentioned extraterrestrials, and that is part of the camouflage or the deception that is perpetrated by those who want to blind the population to the fact that there is a superior force present in the world, and that it happens to be outside the atmosphere or outside the range of their weapons to bring it down. Mr. Farrakhan is speaking straight out of Message to the Black Man, and two other books where the Honorable Elijah Muhammad talks about the mother of all planes. And the mother of all planes, right in the pages of Message to the Black Man, and I brought two books here. I didn't bring my Message to the Black Man. This is The Fall of America, and The Fall of America was published in 1973. And the second book is The Invincible Truth. The Invincible Truth are the articles that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote in the Pittsburgh Courier between 1956 and 1959. There's a brother, his name is Dimitri Muhammad. He compiled these articles together. And each one of the books, Message to the Black Man, Fall of America, and The Invincible Truth, there are chapters on the battle in the sky. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's words are
Battle in the Sky.
The battle in the sky. And let me give you this. The battle in the sky is near. That's photocopied out of Message to the Black Man.
Okay. So this was written in 73.
Published in 73.
Published in 73.
However, his teachings on the mothership goes all the way back to the 30s. For example, this book, The Invincible Truth, is the compilation of the articles before Muhammad Speaks existed, which Malcolm was the originator of Muhammad Speaks. There was a publication before that. I can't get into that history, but Malcolm is due the credit for starting up Muhammad Speaks newspaper.
So you've known about extraterrestrials and all this other time, as long as you've been in the nation?
Brother,
and yet we've never talked about it?
In grammar school and high school, I read everything I could possibly get on what they call UFOs, unidentified flying objects. And I'm telling you, I read every book. There were paperbacks. And here I am.
The thing. The day the Earth stood still.
Well, the thing with
that was
it.
1951.
Okay, Winston. The thing with it is there's a line out of Shakespeare which says, "You protest too loudest," something like that, meaning there was something to hide in the protest. So there's too much information that's out regarding unidentified flying objects without there being some ground or basis to it. You're not going to see it on 60 Minutes. You're not going to see it on Frontline. You're not going to see it on these popular shows that purport to give information. But if you cherry pick your sources, you're going to find articles written on huge objects being seen in the sky and flying over areas, remote areas. So my point about high school and grammar school, I was intrigued, as you said, you know, the end of the world, the earth stood still and all that stuff. I was just interested in that. So when I came into contact with the Nation of Islam teachings on the mothership, it's called the mother planes and it's called the mothership. That's where the first terminology of the mothership existed.
Well, explain what Minister Farrakhan was talking about, Area 51, which we all know about.
Well, some of us know and some of us don't. It's one of those situations where they say that there was one of the saucer-shaped planes crashed and the bodies are examined and whatnot.
Roswell. You're talking about Roswell.
Area 51. I'm thinking it's the same thing.
Area 51 is supposed to be run by aliens, and they're experimenting on all sorts of stuff.
Well, what they talk about is people being beamed up to the ships and being operated on and whatnot. I don't know that much about it. Okay. But what the minister is alluding to is the government having information regarding a superior entity. When I say an entity, a force, because once it's revealed that there is a ship up there and that there are ships within that, once it's revealed, then the military-industrial complex, you know, why should, quote, this is what the Americans were saying, why should we be financing something where there's a superior situation up there? That's what I'm thinking. But at the same time, they may increase the military-industrial complex.
They're afraid of worldwide panic. I really believe. But we all know there are aliens among us.
Well, the aliens, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that the people on the ship are humans just like us.
Well,
but
they're
that they are
our
original,
ancestors.
they're original people. He said they are specially trained and raised individuals. It's all in the writings. It's nothing that I can give you piecemeal, piece of this, piece of that, but it's all in the information within the lessons of the Nation of Islam. It is a fascinating study for people who have not been interested in so-called UFOs and stuff and would be inclined to dismiss it. But when you go into YouTube and you see some of the clips about the ships that they do see, the small ships that they do see, when you see that, it says there's something is there. These are not Photoshop, materials and stuff like that. But Minister Farrakhan, that piece is taken from the Time and What Must Be Done series. Each one of those that people can access on YouTube, each one of those hour or 58-minute presentations are extremely researched, not by the minister himself, but by a team of individuals. And the minister my experience with Minister Farrakhan is that you can provide him with information, and then he will check it himself, and he will double check it. But the fact is that we in the Nation of Islam have a set of lessons called the Supreme Wisdom.
Wasn't he, didn't he go onto a spaceship in 1985, I
Minister
believe,
Farrakhan recounts,
in Mexico?
He recounts the vision.
The vision, not that he actually was.
Well, when people...
Beam me up, Scotty?
When people have... Oh, Beam Me Up Scotty is on 125th Street and Lexington Avenue.
No, I mean, Farrakhan supposedly was beamed up, right? In 85.
Minister Farrakhan relates having a vision.
A vision.
Okay? And there are people who go into various states of what they say consciousness or unconsciousness, and they come out of it, Bob. What is important for me as a follower, is the fact that, when I say a follower, a member of the Nation of Islam, is that he relates how he was given certain information about the presidents of the United States.
Oh, okay.
Bush, Reagan, Bush, and even into this current period, where he was given information on exactly what they would be doing. He has to answer that. I can't.
Did he see Obama coming?
No, I can't. He never said that.
Okay.
He never said that. That, in fact, is another interview that I did with a black man, a psychologist who's up in Massachusetts, who's writing, and I'm not getting off, I'm just saying, whose writings forecast a black man being in office at this particular time. And it's contained in a book called it's written by Dr. Edward Bynum, and it's called The African Consciousness. I think that's the title. And it's in there. I interviewed him on it more than one time. It's right in his book, before Obama. Wow. Before Obama. But anyway, getting back to the minister is referring to the fact of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that we are in essence of people who are not lost. We are not at loss. There is a backup. And the only thing, when he talks about he says the only thing that's holding black people back in terms of their salvation is the fear. He says, this is in The Invincible Truth, and it's page 144. They do not seem to want any God to do anything like blessing them unless that God blesses their enemies too. Fear of their enemies is the real cause. The time is now ripe that they should have no fear, only fear of God, who is in person among them to save them from their enemies. This is in the Bible, and I think it's in a chapter in Corinthians. It talks about God coming for a people, but they had been so distant from their God that they would not recognize him, and that they had been put in such a state, such a negative state, that they wouldn't believe that God would come for them.
Right.
And that they do not know. This is the Bible, the scriptures. I can't point to where it is, but those people in the Bible, those deacons and preachers who see this, will go right to the passage that I'm referring to. They, us, we do not know the language of God, so what God did, this is in Scripture, prophesied, that God had to raise one from among us in order to deliver the message of salvation to us, and at the same time, all his job is to deliver the message to that people who had been lost.
At that time, Malcolm filled that role, as far as the nation is concerned, right?
Okay.
In the 60s? The 50s?
Listen, What happens with a messenger, what happens with a prophet, and I'm not putting the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in the role of a prophet, but he's a messenger. What happens with the messenger is that the messenger in turn raises up other messengers.
Okay.
So those messengers,
sense.
there are those individuals who have to come up out of the professional class of black people to speak to them, because they're not going to listen to somebody that ain't got 3 degrees and a title at a Fortune 500 company, if they do in fact listen at all. And then he has to raise up someone from among the masses. So here, it's not just one messenger, but the believers in the Nation of Islam are all messengers, because all we try to do is give you a message.
Why do we have such a problem following those of us that have something really to say? Why is it that, I often show the contrast between, during our times, the 60s, between Martin and Malcolm, and the rivalry between Malcolm and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the stories of the girls and his, some people called him a pedophile at the time.
Well, they called the Prophet Muhammad, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him.
Well,
This is what they currently
said
do.
about a lot of different people.
Yes.
But we know to the fact that he did have illegitimate children. True? 6 or 7
Within
of
the
them?
Nation of Islam,
Well, this was the beef
we know
between him
them-
and Malcolm.
we know that, well, see, being on the outside, one has the mindset of those on the outside. Being on the inside and having come from the outside, I know the mindset of the people outside because I was in that zone. Now I have the mindset of someone in the house.
Okay.
So what people refer to as pedophilia, as illicit, as wanton, or as lust, we understand and know and believe in a different zone, not making wrong right.
Okay.
But the proof is in the pudding, and in this particular case, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's children, by his marriages, more than one wife, by his marriages, many of those children now are within the fold of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's congregation, and they are not just believers, they are in
and
fact, they support.
the secretaries that that Malcolm had found out about, Elijah Muhammad's son related to Malcolm, that these different young secretaries that Muhammad wasn't married to, he had children with.
Well,
there were 6 or 7 of them.
Well, see,
This is not true?
No, I don't know anything about that.
Oh, come on.
No.
Come on. This is well known.
No.
Because
Well
you and I were young people at that time.
Known by who and for what purpose?
1965, we all knew about it. That's what Malcolm complained about.
Well, how could Brother Leroy, born and raised, not born and raised, but raised as a Catholic, coming out of Resurrection Elementary School, coming out of Cardinal Hayes High School, coming out of Manhattan College, quote, college, being a Catholic all through that period.
Yeah.
And my friends called me the Pope because I was on them in terms of, oh, that's a venial sin, that's a mortal sin.
Yeah.
They didn't
And you didn't know about this?
They didn't. Brother, I'm in the nationalist movement in the 60s, and the first time I went to see Malcolm was when he was not in the mosque. I'm different from a lot of people who say they love Malcolm because I supported Malcolm when he came out of the mosque. I never went to the mosque because I was a Catholic and I thought they wouldn't let a Catholic in. This is my head.
Right.
I thought they wouldn't let a Catholic in, so I knew they wouldn't. I knew about the Crusades and all that, and no, they wouldn't gonna let me in. But it wasn't because I didn't want to go. I said, wow, man. So I went down to see some of the rallies.
Well, you saw the hypocrisy in Catholicism, didn't you?
I don't call it hypocrisy because, in fact, if you're talking about the the suits that have been brought against the Catholic Church worldwide,
Yeah, really.
worldwide,
Worldwide.
and Ireland has some of the worst stories
Right.
because of the
That's right.
orphanages.
That's right.
And how do I know it? Because I read the Irish Echo along
Yeah.
with the other Irish
Wow.
papers, which black people should read papers out of the other communities so they can see crime is in those communities that's not reported in the Daily News and New York Post.
Right.
Because they ain't reported. But I'm getting back,
And-
I don't know anything about the personal life of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I don't even go that way. But when Malcolm was assassinated, when Malcolm left the Nation of Islam, I was a supporter. I was a supporter. And what he had to say against the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he didn't say that. I didn't hear him talk that at the Audubon Ballroom. In the initial break of Malcolm from the Nation of Islam, he was still saying the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches. And then he began to not say that. He began to talk with what people call the international piece. And that's when he began to grow the beard and whatnot. Also, one of the interesting things is that in the beginning, when he gave the lectures at the Audubon, first of all, he started out at the Savoy Ballroom, which is where Delano Village is, or what used to be called Delano Village. He started out there, then he moved to the Audubon Ballroom. I'm following him all the way around because I want to hear this man, see this man in person. And what I led into, I said, how could this brother Leroy, who was raised a Catholic and into Catholicism the way I was, and into the professional world the way I was, how could I fall for something or push something aside in terms of sin and forgive? But I don't know what he was, and I'm not going from with Malcolm's book, the autobiography. I'm not going based on that because I know today that there's more than one angle to the story. If you were to meet the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's children, who were mothered not by Sister Clara Muhammad, but by what they call the other wives, or what the other teenage, whatever they want to call them.
Secretary?
If you address them, they'd be very angry. They would be very angry at the mere fact that people think that their mother was taken advantage of, was called all kinds of names, etc. I've not met these children. That's the area that I want.
This is the rift that Malcolm went through with the movement. This is a known fact.
Okay, so here I am.
You know nothing about that.
I'm in the
All right,
nationalist movement.
Let's take a break and we'll go.
But I'm saying to this before you go there, for Brother Leroy's position, not the Nation of Islam position, not Minister Farrakhan or his representative in New York, I'm saying, so what? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I've said this on this program before, I soldiered with men who had, unto my not knowing, they had been cold, down in the dirt, drug addicts. But they dressed just as well as you, smile, diction, polite. You would never know that they had been in the throes of drug addiction. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teachings pulled them out and pulled women out. So when I look at that, when I heard this stuff about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad from his son, this is after 75, I weighed what he was saying against the men that I knew personally who had come up out of drugs, but I didn't know it at the time. I had people on the street, hey, do you know Stanville? Do you know so-and-so? And I'm looking at them. They look greasy and everything. I said, yeah. Well, hey, he was out there with us. Tell him I said hello. So when you see a man who can save people by the thousands around the country from his word through his ministers, whether it's Malcolm, whether it's Minister Farrakhan or Minister Jeremiah, Minister Shabazz, Minister Don in Boston, whomever, and you see this man save lives, I don't care about this stuff over there. I really don't. It's minutia. It's stuff that gets black people distracted and it deceives them. It's one of those ingredients. He says one of the hardest tasks is to get black people to unite. And they find it easy. I run into people all the time, yeah, y'all killed Malcolm. And they pork chop eaters.
No,
they smoking a cigarette.
Farrakhan is owned up to one of Malcolm's eldest daughter that he had incendiary lit. I've got it on videotape. I can play it.
Play the video.
No, but I mean, this is something that you have to learn to accept.
But here's the thing.
Now, if he agrees that he said such, I've gone to meetings. I mean, I was alive and well in those days.
He did say.
Everybody knew it.
He did say what he said.
I mean, you're the same age as I am. You didn't hear this stuff.
But I'm in the nation now.
Well, I was out of the nation. So I got all the Redwood.
I'm in the nation at that time.
They hid it from you because they let everybody else know. And I've talked to other people in the man. I spent a lot of time with Reverend Kenyatta, man. He told me, Reverend Kenyatta is Malcolm's bodyguard. I spent 7 years doing shows with him. He told me more stories about what happened inside the movement than anybody.
Sure he would. Now, the thing is with Kenyatta.
Sure he would.
Sure he would. Kenyatta is a bodyguard. He's a bodyguard.
Yeah.
Where's Malcolm?
Malcolm's in the grave.
How come the bodyguards, who were supposed to be the bodyguards, did not bodyguard Malcolm on that particular day?
Oh, come on, man.
Kenyatta's not here to answer that.
Malcolm knew it was coming anyway.
Look, a bodyguard is a bodyguard. I mean, they got Costner playing a bodyguard to Whitney Houston better than these guys did. All right? And that's what white supremacy is. So where was this person on that particular day? I didn't go on that particular day, not a bodyguard. I would sell magazines out in front of the Audubon. I sold black magazines out in front of the Audubon.
Well, if you feel comfortable with all that, I mean, that's great.
Brother, I told you.
That's great.
Once you see...
I'd rather own up to the truth and move on rather than say it never happened.
I'm not defending no lie.
Well, it's what you mean, Muhammad Ali, Minister, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad didn't have illegitimate kids from 6 different young ladies. That's not a truth.
Try 20 or 70.
No, I said 6.
No, I tried 20 or 70.
Okay.
Since we both were there.
All right, I'll bring proof next time you're on. All right. But meanwhile, I'm going to go back to Minister Farrakhan telling us about aliens, and we're going to talk about the Dogons, which is initially this is the African tribe in Mali. I don't have a video on that. I didn't bring that with me, but let's go back to Minister Farrakhan. All right, this is Farrakhan 2.
Because you may expose a shadow government that can cause America to be destroyed. But if you stand up and tell the world unashamedly what you have seen, then maybe we can turn this negative into the positive that God intended for you when He holds back His power from you, His power to destroy you. He has purposely kept it back and is only gradually releasing some of the forces of nature to let you know that the inordinate weather that you are experiencing, it's because He's present and He's trying to make you to see that you don't have any power to stop what he has the power to bring. In an article titled New Advisor John Podesta, an Advocate for UFO Disclosure, posted on December the 11th, 2013 in the Huffington Post. It reads, quote, "For all of you who hope the United States government will lift the veil on its alleged stockpile of evidence that Earth is being visited by extraterrestrials, take heart. This week, former Clinton Chief of Staff and UFO advocate John Podesta was named as President Obama's newest advisor. Podesta, 64, has more than once publicly urged the United States government to release any UFO files that could help scientists determine the real nature of this phenomenon. President Obama, since you have John Podesta by your side, and you have the friendship of Bill and Hillary Clinton, who were taught of these UFOs by Lawrence Rockefeller, since you have an army of those inside America and outside that have seen these things and will join with you if there's great opposition against you from the satanic mind."
Heavy. So I've always believed, I've always thought I wasn't from here. I've always had a crazy notion I wasn't from here. Because I never felt, I felt most people aren't really human. They really got some undercurrent demon inside them. And whenever that part of me came out, that was a completely different person as far as I was concerned. I've always had a deep inherent love for people. I think it came from my mother. My mother was an angel. All she did is love me to death. And I thought all women were like that. And sort of spoiled me for life. But we go back to the story of the Dogons, extraterrestrials, supposedly coming in from the planet Sirius, the Sirius Mystery, which has a particular orbital configuration where one of the stars is Sirius A, is a dwarf star, where it's supposed to be, Professor Finch talks about black matter being so 90% of the universe is black matter, and that this is a secret to creation. And that on the Sirius Mystery, this dark matter consists of the entire planet, whereas 1 ounce is a ton on this planet, or something like that, some sort of configuration. So the magnetic energy of this whole thing, this circular motion of Sirius A and B, is orbiting the 2 different planets and on a circular motion of infinity. A, B, and C, the A Sirius A, B, circling each other, and that sort of infinity motion. Now the Dogons, who have no telescopes, and in the middle of the Mali, where these are supposed to be ancestors of ancient Egypt.
Yes.
Coming from,
supposed to have come from
Egypt
to there.
to Mali. You know the story. Now,
I'm aware.
This is supposed to be, what was this? K.G. Temple, the Englishman, tells the story of the Sirius Mystery, the Dogons and the Dog Star, which is the face of the ancient Egyptians. Supposedly, the beginnings of creation come from Sirius A and B. And these were amphibious beings, which came down from serious and visit this planet.
That's the mindset. I don't know what the Dogon say about it. That is part, from my experience, my consumer experience, is that they want, first of all, the original people of the planet Earth are black people. That's the original
Lucy.
people of the planet Earth are black folks.
Okay.
The originators are black folks.
Okay.
The ones who built the pyramids, black folks, on and on and on and on.
All right.
What the European strives to do is, as we get closer to the truth of black people being the original people, they then want to say the accomplishments of the pyramids and the other things that they have discovered that's under the sands of the Sahara or under the dirt further south in South Africa. They want to say that these things originated from extraterrestrials. They call them the chariots of the gods, that they came here, and those chariots are manned by Caucasians. This is what they want.
No, not necessarily. No, that's not
telling
true.
I'm
The
telling you.
Mayans have a history of
Okay.
going extraterrestrial. Not a matter of color.
Brother Leroy, as a consumer, it is
Another
a matter
brainwashing.
of color. When you talk about the Aztecs and when you talk about
We're talking about the
Olmec
aliens.
heads and whatnot, those Olmec heads, I just know pieces, the Olmec heads, you can go and see a replica of that in the Museum of Natural History.
Oh,
the rep-
today they interpret it as being that. We know they were all black people.
Okay.
Well,
All right. So
we go back to the 50s with
something you initially said in
Okay.
the second half. You said you always felt that people weren't human, that there was something else going on, and you use your own self as an example. And that reminds me of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad about the weaker germ in black people. The weaker germ is that part that gives rise to envy, jealousy, and war, and to the devious ways that we see manifested in the European. This is according to the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, which is found in Message to the Black Man, is called the Who is the Original Man in the Making of the White Man, the Making of the Devil. That's what the chapter is called. The chapters are called. And he talks about the weaker side of the black man and the reason why Yaqub's experiment in creating another people or making another people is manifested today. But that is in Message to the Black Man. Folks can see that, leaf through the pages, and it's not anything that's secret to the 1% or the 5% who run the society. It's not a secret. They study this, they know their origins. It's part of the rituals in the secret societies. They know who they are, they know who we are. We're the only ones who do not know who we are, and we are the target of deception and misdirection. And so that's on that. The Dogon, when you talk, I just met a Dogon, a brother from Mali,
Really?
Saturday.
Wow.
And he told me he's from Mali. I said, oh, I said, you're the wise people. He said, yes. He says, we are. And he was what you would call an average black man, but he revealed, he said, not revealed, but he said he was from Mali. Every person that we meet, I'll put it another way, during this time, there are people who are walking among us, black people who are extremely bright, who are extremely smart in the secrets that have been kept away from humanity. The Dogon is said to be the ancestors of Benjamin Banneker, the one who laid out Washington, D.C. after the Frenchmen quit the job, and the one,
He
Banneker's the
memorized
one
the whole thing.
who created the clock.
Right.
And they say, I've not done the research, that in London, when they say Big Ben, that's
Banneker.
in homage to Benjamin Banneker. So the Dogon, you can see, you can read about the Sirius being the Sirius, the other Sirius star. You can read about that in Van Sertima's books.
Mm-hmm.
Van Sertima's books, Blacks in Science, I think it's in there.
Okay.
And he talks about...
And Charles Finch, Professor Finch talks
about it, and many of those guys, the one I mentioned before, Dr. Edward Bynum, he's written 2 books, The African Consciousness, The African Unconsciousness, one of those 2. Dr. Edward Bynum, Charles Finch, Asa Hilliard, possibly Milana Karenga, and I'm talking in terms of people who have studied this area. And when we study those people, we're actually studying ourselves.
Right.
Study the Dogon.
That's it.
Another guest that you might have on, well, anyway.
Well, you admit that this is this theory or this
theory
is a fact.
We
are ancestors of the universe. Our ancestors come from
I listened to a show.
Space.
I listened to a show, Coast to Coast.
Well, why does Farrakhan believe all this stuff?
It's right in the book.
It's in the book. Extraterrestrials.
No. They want to make you think that they're extraterrestrials. Somebody with big eyes and ears that go out like antennas.
They look like dolphins.
They want you to think that. Because if they told
that?
you that those people look like you begin.
Well, we know that about the Egyptians.
Okay.
And you can see the paintings on the wall. The people were black.
Look, what's the guy, King Tut, Tutankhamun?
Tutankhamun.
And how they have projected him as being a European.
Well, that's a joke.
Even the Egyptians, until you see the real thing.
We know they lied. Look at.
We knew they was lying.
Look who we got as president. I mean,
you're right.
The 21st century shows you the foolishness of this white supremacy. Come on.
Correct.
Now, this white supremacist is in the White House because of the fact that we had a black man that had some sense, and he got angry because he got dissed at a party.
Black people.
And he came out and decided, I'm going to get this black man. And he's in there, and I've been in there 6 months, and he's torn apart every good thing that Obama put forward.
Well, he's working on it.
15 executive orders to rescind every executive order Obama put out there. Trump is a paid informant from Putin. He's a Putin flunky. And there's another white supremacist. You want to talk about the white supremacists of the 21st century? This shows you what a joke this country can be. 62 fools voted for him. For what? Because they were racist white supremacists. Now let's talk about up-to-date foolishness.
Go ahead.
All right? Up-to-date, right in our face today. We don't have to go back yesterday. We got it right in front of us now. Now, we know a black man ruled as a blessing from God. And what did black people do? They gave him a hard time. They gave the brother a hard time. Now, you watch go down in history, you're going to love everything Obama ever said and did. Not after he's dead and gone, like we do all our leaders. All our leaders, we treat them like dogs when they're here. But what happens when they're gone?
Brother Winston.
Now that Obama's gone and we got this fool in the White House, now everybody's saying, oh, Obama wasn't so bad. The brother just tried to be fair. Oh, never mind, Libya and NATO actually shoved him in that deal. And he's not of our culture, which I got from you. And Graham, I had everything to say about Libya. And Professor Jeffries, he's the white man's president. Now look what kind of fool we got.
Well, listen.
Now look what the
Man,
wonderful.
look,
Now,
you
nobody
have to-
said, now, we had 8 years of me sitting right here. Obama's a blessing from God.
Look.
And Graham would stand up and say, well, he ain't all that hot.
I don't know.
And now
who-
look what we got now, just
don't
because you
know.
guys wouldn't support him.
There's Graham,
Oh.
Jeffries,
Obama,
and
forever.
Brother Leroy. Graham Jeffries and Brother Leroy. We're so powerful. We had that influence over the masses of black people.
No, there are a lot of dummies out here. I mean, a lot of misinformed folks.
Look,
you got to grow and learn and
let me
listen to
tell you-
GILCHRIST
let me
every
tell
now
you-
and then.
Let me tell you what I
You know what my
agree.
name means? It means worker for Christ. Bring out your Catholic cap for that
Listen,
one.
this is fantastic. When you
I'm a Marine for God, that's
brother,
all.
you
I'm in
do-
for righteousness.
You do a good job.
I'm in for righteousness, that's all. I'm interested in being fair and telling the truth.
You're interested in being fair.
Fair,
So you
that's
ask
all.
questions that are accusations and say that you're being fair. Now, that's your business.
I'm just instigator. I instigate.
No. See, you gotta
instigate.
be more skillful so that when you ask a
I
question.
just try my best.
Here's what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said. He said, don't answer the question, answer the intent. And that's what made Malcolm so effective. And that's why we would look riveted at the TVs when we saw Malcolm or listened to radio when he was in a debate. Minister Farrakhan is in the same zone. And most of the ministers are. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, answer the intent. Don't answer the question. Okay? So I have to adhere to that teaching my own self. But I'm in somebody else's house when I'm here.
Okay.
Now, the doggone black people who are watching, and this is very important, Winston, because you put in a lot of work putting together your shows. You put in a lot of work. People see clips. They don't know that you sit down and you have to watch and wade through this, and the same dynamic that Gil Noble did. That's why they would say, hey, your show is like Gil Noble.
Oh,
you
wow.
present information. But what happens, there has to be payback for it. And I'm talking about pay. The pay is black people doing research who
Yes,
see this show, doing research on their own.
That's right.
Going
That's right.
and looking up at Charles Finch, going and looking up some of the writings on Jeffries, on Minister Farrakhan,
That's
on
right.
Malcolm,
That's right.
on these books, The Fall of America, Message to the Black Man.
Okay.
Do not be, you can't, if you go into a class, you just don't sit, you take notes and you do readings on your own.
That's right.
And black people owe this to a show like yours because you do work and it's a labor of love. And I'm saying that sincerely. Black people who watch this show, and I run into them. There's a brother I ran into last week, Brother Manning. Brother Manning, well, I forget his first name, ace musician. We was talking for days about Joe Tex and Otis Redding and this brother plays the saxophone. And just getting off a bit, when you go to the Apollo and James Brown, Otis Redding, Joe Tex, and there was one other band, singer, they had these bands that traveled with them. And the bands would open up first. And they would, the saxophones, they'd be rocking back and forth. Man, that was so we was talking about that. But he he watches your shows. So you have a very diverse audience. And I maintain that a lot of, not that this makes your show more valuable or less valuable, a lot of Caucasians watch shows where black men and whenever black women are talking intelligently. They say, what's these Negroes doing? So they monitor. So I'm saying that the show has a large audience.
Really?
Very large audience.
Somebody's always speaking to me in the street or looking at me, and I don't know. But I'm around Sharpies all the time, and I don't know where people are coming from.
Well,
so,
the
but
viewers,
see, this is a calling for me. That's all.
Yeah.
That's a calling. I mean, I've been doing this 20 years, and And it started out as a hobby. I mean, I was just having fun. I'm still having fun.
And you
gotta have fun.
You got pulled into it.
And God guides me, you know.
Yeah.
This is what God wants me to do.
And you do it well.
I just...
Except when you ambush Brother Leroy.
What?
Yeah,
What? You're my brother. My brother. He's my brother. My brother Leroy.
Listen.
What say you, Leroy?
But
see, this is because we're coming out of the same week. We're showing people what nobody believes that we're 76 years old.
That's good, because
of course it's good, because we came up in an era where we took, our fathers didn't take no nonsense. Like you said last week, I call myself a house Negro. I said, no, we're just trying to make our parents proud. That's all. That's all. I played everything by the book. And like you said, you raised a Catholic. My God, you got beat you got beat at home and beat at school too.
I wanted to be a priest at one time.
Oh man. And you know Phil Valentine?
No.
He came up a Catholic. And
Phil is way...
I know. And I know most Catholics I knew came out kind of crazy because of the teachings of no sex before marriage and all this strict... Man.
Well,
and that's what Gil said about the Muslim religion.
Yeah.
And he couldn't take it because you couldn't smoke, drink, eat pork. But so that was a tough road to. But if you came up Catholic and believed in all that stuff, man, I went out with Catholic girls, and man, that was the toughest. Oh, and it, all you know, I always wanted a nice girl to take home to mama, and I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle it.
Well,
and after being 4 years in the service and coming out, oh man. But that was our way in those days. We played it by the book. So that's why it was so hurtful when Malcolm found out that Elijah, the minister, Elijah Muhammad, had elicited.
Really, their conversations.
That's the truth that we have to bring out and move on from it.
Brother,
that's the truth that you have to face up to and move on. Because that's what messed up Malcolm. When he found the girls banging on the door outside the house when he went to Chicago to take some money. They were banging on the door and they weren't being taken care of. This is all on film, man. This is all on film. I've gone over it a lot of times with even, you know. But here's, I'm going to bring up my favorite Muslim. Ali.
Man. Oh,
Ali.
Man.
This is my man, because I was a boxer too, boy. We used to knock him out, right? Remember those days?
Well, we
were happy folks.
We either got knocked out or knocked out.
That's right.
And that was the end of the fight.
You remember?
Then you meet at Snooky Sugar Bowl, somebody might give you a burger or a soda.
You know? But if you were dirty, you would kick somebody.
That was the end.
Yeah, that was it. We came up in an environment that, I mean, it was such style and good taste. The 50s were, I mean, even with the movies, I mean, Singing in the Rain. My wife and I were talking about when we were 16, and the first time she really noticed me, I was swinging on a lamppost. Playing Fred Astaire.
Fred Astaire doing moves that he learned from the Nicholas brothers.
That's right. That's right.
And we
all
sitting
knew
there
that.
looking at Ginger Rogers and the rest of these as though.
But we were always on top, and we always knew the white man took what good we had to show them. We were always the best, and we knew it, but it didn't bother us. We went on about our business and looked at them as fools. Well, the same fool we got in the White House now.
The thing.
And he's 6 years younger than us.
Scary.
Look at that.
The thing with Trump in the White House is a classroom for black people.
Amen.
Not to get caught up.
Amen.
Trump.
That's it.
But to watch.
That's it.
How the Republicans from the very first day
Racist,
of Obama's
racist.
saying that he would not,
Racist.
they were not going to let him do
Racist.
achieve anything. You said, well, where's that coming from?
That's it.
If it's for
Racism.
the betterment of the American
White
people.
supremacy.
Yeah, but I'm saying this is a class. Black people.
Of course it is.
No. What we're doing, what I find we're doing, we're throwing a lot of stuff at Trump, instead of pulling back
But it's
and
America.
analyzing.
It's America.
Analyzing. Now, this stuff with the Russians, you sit back and you watch.
That's
you
it.
see what's going on. You just don't say Putin and whatnot. You got to watch and see what's
And it's
going
white
on.
supremacy.
1,000%.
All right.
But this is what they get because they're so blind.
That's
And
right.
Obama did for them what they wanted him to do, whether it was the shadow government or whether it was the other government. He did what they wanted. They're still against him. This is what is really fascinating, and is a classroom. We have to, my opinion,
Yeah, you're right. No,
pick
you're
those
right.
things apart.
You're right.
Ali, Malcolm,
Mm-hmm.
Minister Farrakhan, and any other outstanding name in the Nation of Islam come out of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Mm-hmm.
And that should be enough for the black people who want to know to do an investigation.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't want to know, that's on them. The message has been delivered. And even in
Wow.
a discussion, even in the discussion that we had here, where I don't agree with the things that you have said as questions but accusations, the fact that I'm hearing in testimony is enough for black people who watch this to do your own research. If you turn your back on it, that's on you.
Well,
That's on, I'm saying this from my
I
own.
honor what you do.
No,
and-
this is not against you.
No, I'm
This
not.
is-
I don't accept it
Okay,
that way.
good.
No, I understand. I put all this forward to you because I want us to learn together. You know, because this is my brother, and he's here to let us know his exposure.
you gotta
and
get my-
I'm just letting you know my exposure.
My big
And
brother
if
got to
there's
come
any,
on.
no,
big
you're 5
brother-
days older than me.
My big brother got to
You're
come
5
on.
days older than me. So
Minister Abdul Hafiz Muhammad.
okay, he stands me up too much.
Well,
You think he can show up on time?
I think he will be here once you give the invitation.
Okay.
He will be here and run the same question.
I'll run to him. I got it. I got some more too. So stay tuned for the GILCHRIST experience. The God in me loves the God in you. And stay tuned
Thank
for
you,
more
brother.
family talk.
God bless you, black man.
Peace. Power to the people. God bless. Time to take it home. This is great. God bless you, brother.
Oh man, Brother Winston.